Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit something different with this series. And each week we're going to focus on using stencils. Okay, so this week's stencil, we're going to get ready to hop on in, is off to the side. It's a basket weave pattern. And I've got my paper cut at 4¼ by 11½. And we're going to score at 5½. So that way we'll have a 4¼ by 5½ card. Okay. And you can do it top fold or sideways. And we're going to show you, I'm going to show you the options when we make these two cards today. Okay. So this is a little bit thicker of your regular like cardstock. It's 110. So I always score it multiple times because I want it to kind of stay closed on its own. Okay, and then what I'm doing is I created basically like a card front, and we're going to spray our stencil with pixie spray, and that will allow it to stick. And when you actually, I had already used it once, and so the stickiness had worn off, so I had to spray it again, because when you clean it, it does take away some of the sticky, but you just spray it again and you can put it down and it'll stick. And now the cardstock I was pointing out to you, the one I'm using, it has like a texture on one side and smooth on the other, but I'm going to actually use the texture side. Okay. And I'm just using some Catherine Pooler inks. This ink is one of her new ones, the gingerbread. It's not the newest, but I know it's one of the recent ones. And I'm just using my Tim Holtz tool with a sponge specifically for this color. And I'm just coloring in. Since it was basket weave, I was like, this ginger color, which has sort of like that orangey brown tone, would be perfect. And then I just put a little Velcro on the back, and then I can attach my sponge to it. Now I'm going to basically just clean this off real quick. Since it's just ink, it'll rub off pretty quickly. I don't have to worry about doing a whole lot of cleaning. So I just sprayed it a little bit and then I'm wiping it again. So that's all clean and done. I don't have to take it to get it washed in the sink. When you're using paste and stuff like that, you want to wash it off as quickly as possible. Okay, so now here's our card front. And I'm going to stamp sentiment using Catherine Pooler stamp, and I'm doing thinking of you, and I'm going to put thinking up at the top with a little decoration in between the of you. So I'm going to stamp the thinking, and I'm just using scrap white paper that I have. So that way I don't have to waste a whole sheet. And now the of you is right beneath our little accent line. I know I have it on an angle because I didn't have another block that was big enough. And then we'll just trim that down to create our sentiment, which I'm going to pull my cutter in for. And I don't know the exact size that I wind up making this. Usually when it's something like this, I just eyeball it to try and kind of keep it even distance and as straight as possible. So I had more off the side of this one, so I decided to cut on that side. And then I think I did a little bit. Did I do a little bit? Yeah, on that side too. Wasn't a whole lot. And then off the bottom, just trying to get it as close to the actual words as possible without it looking weird. And then on here, look at me getting ready to cut it wrong. I'm just cutting like 1/8 of an inch off because I want it to have a little bit of a border showing around the edge. And then right now I'm taking what ink is left on the sponge and I'm just going around all 4 corners so it has a little bit of a darker shade going around the edge. It'll help for when we attach it to our card base. So I'm taking my tape runner, which I think runs out, of course, because it always does when we're in a video. And then I'm going to grab my Nuvo one and finish putting this together using our wet glue. I like to use both because when I go to lay it down, if I'm crooked, the wet glue buys me a few seconds where I can tear it up and not rip the project and have to start over. Okay, so here we go. So I was thinking for this one, like which way would be the best way to go. I decided I was going to make this one go vertical, I believe. And then let me grab my stuff real quick. Yeah, this one's going to be vertical. And instead of it being right in the center, it's going to be off to the right hand side a little bit. Because the show is the basket weave, right? You don't have to do much. It creates an interesting background. You add a sentiment, boom, you're done. So we're going to go ahead and attach this. Now, while I'm attaching this, off to the side, I have a piece that is drying, okay? I think I do wind up showing you what I do, but real quick before we go to the next one, I'm going to go ahead and splatter. I do a lot of splatters on my layout scrapbook pages, but you can use it on your cards as well. And with something like this, you just want to add a little bit of something to it, but you may not want to do enamel dots or sequins. You know, you might want to keep it a little bit more on the masculine side, so that way, you know, you could give it to somebody, but you want a little bit of something. Use your splatters. It's not a whole lot. It doesn't make it where you can't give it to a guy if you wanted to. So that's what I like about it anyway. But this one, I used the same stencil, and after I colored it in, I just took some Stickles gel and I put it through the same stencil, so that way once it dries, our basket weave has a little bit of glitter. Now this one you might look at and be like, okay, that's a bit much. But I couldn't help myself. I love all things glitter. I do. Right now I'm heating it up because in the process of doing this, I forgot anything with the name Stickles takes a long time to dry, okay? It's not going to be like Nuvo drops. It's not going to be like other gels or I can't even think of what it's called, but you know, like texture paste and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not going to be the same. So in that instance, you want to make sure you heat it with your heat tool so that way you don't make a mess, which I almost did a couple of times. My finger got into the wet gel. So now on this one, I did grab a little bit more ink and we made it a lot darker around the edge. I like the way it came out. I like the subtleness on the first card, but I like the deeper color on this one as well. And it all just depends on what feel you want to do. To me, this one that we're working on right now has a little bit more antiqued because it's a lot darker. Whereas the other one, it just gives a little bit of color definition between it and the base, you know? So I like both. And then this one, I didn't trim down. So this one goes cover to cover. So it's the exact 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 size of the card front. And then we're going to also put this off to the side. I'm using the larger foam squares. Oh, do you see I'm putting my stickers on top of a thinking? That was a piece or my first stamping attempt, and it was horrible. I didn't ink it enough, and so yeah, I wound up having to do it a second time. So that's why you're seeing another sentiment where I'm putting the foam, but the right one is on the other side. And my same reasoning for using the tape and glue is why I put glue on the foam squares. Plus, with this being a little bit more textured with the gel, you'll want to use the glue so that you get good adhesion. And then we're going to splatter, just like we did with the other one. So with this type of technique, you can do a mass production of a bunch of cards like this, and then just change up the sentiments, right? If you're the type of person, you're just getting into card making and you want something a little more simpler, this is what I suggest. Get you a really nice stencil that you can create a bunch of backgrounds. You can do a blending of colors. You can do one tone. It doesn't matter. There's so much you can do with even just one stencil. I think stencils are probably one of my favorite tools because you can use them over and over and over again, and you'll always get something different. Just use a different color scheme, use a different medium, and I mean, the options are endless. So here are our final two pieces. I like how both of them turned out. Like I said, I think the last one with the glitter is probably my favorite, but that's because I'm a glitter girl. 100%. So I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. If you haven't already, please consider hitting the subscribe button and giving this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or any comments, just leave them down below. I love reading them and responding. And if I haven't responded to a message or anything that you put on, just bear with me because I'm starting to get back into the swing of things, and I'm just so grateful that you guys are here with me. And I will have another video in our stencil, our kind of stencil journey that we're on, which may continue even into Christmas, all the way for the season, the rest of fall and into Christmas. So thank you guys, and I hope you have a great weekend.